Hold on. Hey! Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Purpose for Forever. I am your brother from another mother, Mr. A.D. Walker, and I'm here with my wonderful, lovely, amazing, awesome wife, Samantha.
What up?
We're going to have a good show today. I'm a little hot. I think I'll turn that fan on full blast. So appreciate you guys hanging and rocking. All my replay peoples. Thank you for rocking and listening. As well as those that are everywhere else. Thank you for rocking and listening. So we'll be right back. After this, it's your opportunity to share. Make sure you share. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. All right. Let's get it.
Me and you together, our purpose for forever. Won't let nothing ever tear us apart. Me and you together, our purpose for forever. Won't let nothing ever tear us apart. Me and you together, our purpose.
Yeah.
Hey, and we're back. And my AV guy's not on his job, so have a few left.
It's a the mic. Who muted the mic?
Oh, you can see it's going to be an interesting.
All right. So we have I'm having some technical difficulties right now, but stay with us. All right.
Give us. Yeah.
All right. So today, let's just get into it. Can your relationship survive the change?
Obviously, my relationship needs some changes going on because this here is a hot mess tonight.
All right. So today we're gonna kind of talk about, can your relationship change, survive when interests change or your spouse change, and things of that nature, the changing of the season and, shifting and paying attention. We spoke about this some time ago, but we're going to kind of dig a little deeper into it. And I'm going to hand this off to my hostess with the mostest.
Okay, so, as you know, you grow, hopefully you evolve, you change, you mature.
Mm-hmm.
So on Saturday, we had a get together, like we do, because we always doing something. And we played a game. And a lot of the questions were basic, and you know the answers to the question, or you know what the answer was like 10 years ago. But what we found while we were playing was that, we have been in each other's lives for so long that there's so many memories and events and things that were like spectacular, that have happened between us and for us over the years.
Right.
So playing the game helped us to realize that, we have changed some.
Yes.
And evolved, and you never really think about it.
Right.
Life continues to happen. You continue to work. You continue to care for your family. You continue to do all these things, and you don't really recognize how much or how
Sorry.
you may or may not have changed.
Right. Yes.
And I think in a relationship, a lot of times we rarely talk about that. Like I've heard people say, "Oh, we just grew apart."
Right.
And I wonder, like, is it really that you just grew apart, or is it that your likes changed over time and your interests changed over time? Or was it that I changed and he didn't?
Right.
Or he changed and I didn't, and we didn't know how to have the conversation?
Right.
We talk all the time about how relationships is about communication.
Yes.
You have to communicate.
Definitely.
Even when it's hard, even when it's awkward.
Right.
There might be tears.
Right.
Sometimes there might be elevated voices. There might be animation.
Right.
But it is extremely important that you continue to have the conversations. I think as long as you're talking through things, you'll continue to go through it.
Right.
But I think once you stop talking, it's like that's where the relationship stops. There's no communication. It kind of leaves you with nowhere to go.
Right. so I think just having the communication, continuously speaking to each other, talking about what's relevant, talking about what's happening, having those intimate conversations about needs and wants definitely matter. Heated fellowship, right. Right.
Listen, sometimes that happens. Sometimes, let's be honest, relationships are emotional.
Right.
In one way or another. How I show emotion may not be the same way that he shows it. I might be a crier and he might be, the one with the elevated voice.
Right.
Or it could be vice versa. But there's a lot of emotions involved in relationship. And I think understanding how your partner communicates is a big part too.
Right.
Also understanding how they're changing and asking, wanting to dig deeper, like, oh, well, I'm making your favorite and you make it. And he's like,
right.
Steak was my favorite like 5 years ago.
Right.
At that point, there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity to learn something new about your mate, or there's an opportunity for you to blow it and be like, well, you used to like it, so you better like it,
Right.
Like there's a way to maximize on, the things that are happening and to continue to grow together and not allow things to, distance you or, tear you apart.
Having those understanding, having those conversations, because what happens, if you're not having those conversations, someone may feel like their needs or their wants are not being met,
or acknowledged,
or having a discussion about, what, we always talk about expectations and things of that nature, and they shift sometimes, I may desire something more or just something different. But if we never conversate, we never have that conversation, then you'll never know it. Like she said, you still give me the steak dinner every Saturday night after 5 years. I'm like, I'm not really into steak. Remember when I thought I said something about how I love that fish, that catfish or something, and we miss it when we don't take time, when we're not intentional in our relationship, doing a check-in. Like, how are you feeling? How's everything? Is there anything that I can do better?
Ooh.
Is there anything that I can?
That's a loaded question.
I can do better.
Like, I don't think people could really ask that, like, sincerely. Like, nobody, people in general, you think you doing it all right. Like, most people think they're doing it right. So why would I ask you, could I do anything better? I'm fabulous just the way I am.
I'm doing it all right.
Right. I'm already, I'm already doing it right. Oh, chicken with each other. All day and then intentionally come together at work. Right. Like you have to be intentional about those things. But generally people think that they're doing it right. I'm already being the best wife I can be. So, if this ain't good enough for you. Or you're unappreciative of me giving you my best, my sweat and my tears.
But we have to be able to have an honest conversation, like, especially if you ask it, then my prayer is that you're asking or seeking an honest answer.
Right, but I don't think people want to ask. But that's the
you
point.
think people,
Like
people don't want to
nobody's
ask
gonna
that.
ask. Why would I ask if I think that I'm doing it right? I mean, I think it's important, on both sides.
Right.
Definitely, sometimes you should ask.
Right.
But I also say, don't wait for them to ask. Sometimes you have to ask for what you want.
Right.
Sometimes you have to ask for what you feel like you're not getting.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be in a, you don't do this right. Do it like this. There's a way to, to ask. There's a way to communicate your needs and your desires, even as they change.
Yeah, definitely. I asked, he said, I asked.
You can't put the responsibility on somebody else.
Hey.
To make you happy.
Right.
And to read your mind and make you happy. Right. Like how I'm supposed to know.
That's true.
That
I don't like steak anymore.
Right. Like sometimes you say, babe, you know what? I was thinking that I'm gonna try this from now on. Right. Or take some initiative, be vocal. Communication works both ways.
That's true.
I have to be willing to listen, but sometimes you have to be willing to talk.
Right.
Don't always assume that somebody's gonna ask you, what happened, or somebody's gonna ask you what's different this week. Yes, they should. Right. And sometimes your spouse may not know that they need to. Sometimes you have to steer the moment. Right. Not necessarily the relationship. I don't want men to get all up in arms. I'm the head. I'm saying you might need to steer the initial moment. You might need to help him to see, hey, I was thinking maybe we could do, he's like, oh, I never thought about that. And then it opens up again, like an opportunity for him to be better, an opportunity for you to be better.
Right.
Set some expectations for everybody to meet them.
That's true. Yeah, setting those expectations are definitely it's key, and like you said, sometimes they shift. You get in your mind that you like, man, it'd be nice, like something that you've done, and even if she's done like once in a while, like, ooh, can we get more of that? Can I get some more? Of course. Keeping in mind if it's time and work and things of that nature, because some things take time and work to do. But if it's just something simple, like instead of doing this, just do more of this, and you compliment her. Like, I love when you do more of this. This thing really helps me, touch me,
Right, like, girl, when you swung from that chandelier last week, ooh, woo.
Right.
You did.
You did it. You did it.
Hold the door for dear life.
You're so silly. But having those conversations about what you like, because I think sometimes conversations start off from what you're not doing right. And I think if we come from a space where this is what I enjoy, and this is what I love to see this more of, you do it. I just want to see more of that, like we did the couples thing. They was talking about, some of the things that you like. Is it a hug, a word of affirmation, basically, I love you, or a gift, and it's funny to go around the room and most would just, they'll give me a hug. And then one would probably like, give me words of affirmation. We weren't stuck on a gift. Like, because for the most part, you feel like you can always just get something. But from your wife, it's like that thing that you can only give me, because anyone can give you anything, but that hug for me. That hug means more than anything in the world.
Okay.
So yeah, it's about those needs, and then I'm pretty sure someone was surprised, like, wow, I thought me giving you was doing it, but that's not the top of the list. You would like to hear more words of I love you and affirmation more than anything. So it's knowing those needs or those wants. What do we expect? What do we want out of our relationship? Coming into our new season here, we are about in a sense, and I use the word lightly, happy, but we enjoy ourselves, enjoy our time together. Because I don't know, like I I'm resigning. I want to enjoy my marriage. Like I want to enjoy this, because we go through stuff, and I was like, oh, like I don't want to be in this space. Let's see how we can fix this, or what can we do to improve and not be in this space, because I want to enjoy our time together. Life is short. Like life is seriously short, and why be somewhere where you're miserable? My thing is do something. Don't be such a stuck revolving place. Do something about it. Have a plan. What is it that you want out of your relationship, and how can you get there?
And then I realize a lot of times when people are together for a long time and things happen, and then one person leaves and goes somewhere else, and now you do all the stuff that you could have been doing with the person you was with. Like, now you realize, oh, I should communicate more. Right. Now you realize, oh, I have to be more thoughtful, more compassionate. Right. I need to be more romantic. All those things that, that would have maybe extended your prior connection. Right. We don't do. We move on and we put that work and that energy somewhere else. Right. When that, I feel like a lot of times, and that's not for every situation. Right. So, apply it where it goes, and if it don't, but then you get somewhere else, and now you're super dad with step kids. So now you're out there mowing the grass every week and taking out the trash. Or you get with somebody else and you exercising all the time. Or now you've become a master chef. Now you cook 4 times a week. All the things that you didn't prior to that point, you didn't do. But now, now you realize I need to change. Like, I think sometimes, when you hit that curve, instead of just looking for the out, sometimes you need to just buckle down and ride the curve, make the change.
Yeah. So what I will say is, I think sometimes when the relationship just been so thick for so long, I don't know, like I don't want to say separate, but maybe you need a breather. And what I mean like that, let me explain. I mean, not like go away, go live somewhere else. Maybe you just need some time as far as like, hey, I'm gonna just take a ride today. Like you need a revigoration. Like you need to re-energize, because sometimes you see it later because you stepped away, you got a little clarity. You're like, okay, this is what it's gonna take. And that's why some people step into the new relationship. Like I realized I needed to breathe. I need to get away. He said, "Hi, have we changed?
Have we defined
what the change is?"
Well, that's the thing that, with everybody, we all change differently at different times. Right. So in your relationship or in anybody's relationship, the change just depends on the person. Right. I just feel like sometimes when change happens, the relationship just kind of, either we just stay together and we just, keep moving. Right. I think a change is growth, and it should be. I mean, that's what I would like to say changes. But okay, so let me use a more reasonable example. Like, okay, women, a lot of times when you start menopausing, your body goes through a lot of changes because one part of your body is coming to an end, and it's kind of like the functions of your body are repurposing. That's kind of like a broad way of putting it. Yeah, but one thing is coming to an end, and then your body, your insides are repurposing. So, whereas it was initially intended to do this, now it's learning how to do something else. On the outside, though, you can become like a whole different person. What you like to eat, what you don't like to eat. Maybe before you were like cold all the time. Now you're hot all the time. It could be so many things that happen while your body is repurposing. And I think sometimes that happens in relationships. It's like you get to an age and you're like, okay, this part of who I am is coming to an end. Maybe I was the outgoing, the extrovert. Right. And that part is coming to an end. Right. And now I'm repurposing my energy to focus on something else. Maybe now I'm becoming more of an introvert. Maybe now I'm becoming more of a homebody. I want to be home more.
Yeah.
I want to do this more, or I want to travel more. It can honestly be anything. I mean, the hope is that when you change, it is about growth and and maturing. That is always the hope. But let's be honest, like, people can change in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes we can even change in a negative way. Sometimes a circumstance can create a negative environment. But I still think most times that you can talk your way through it. Sometimes, saying to somebody, hey, babe, you realize, like, every time I do this, you like bite my head off.
Right.
And she's like, really? Do I? Yes.
Yeah.
You do. And like, I don't think so. And then when the situation comes, you see that right there. Like, now you're doing it. So I think sometimes, even if the change is not so positive, it still presents an opportunity to talk it through. Or to try to work it through, to communicate, because the goal is supposed to be till death do us part. That's always the goal. Or that should always be the goal, So the objective should be trying to figure out how to grow through it and stay, and grow through it together.
I think with, you go through different phases in your life, and like, she used the menopause. I think as people, I ain't gonna say God, but as people, like, you have a plan. Like, you get a job and you get with your wife and you start having kids and you're like, okay, boom, I'm at this job. I'm gonna retire in 30 years. Like, that's the plan. That's the goal. Like, we talk about it. Boom. Look at this. See how this doing. About somewhere at 10 to 15, we can get this house. Boom, boom. We got this plan laid out. And about 10 years in, I'm like, this, I'm not happy. Like this, I do this cycle. We go through this cycle every year. Or let's just say 13 years. Like, every year we're going through this cycle, this cycle. And I think I feel like there's more for my life, and you discuss what that means, right? You have the conversation, and I really push that because, if someone has that conversation, know that their mind is like thinking about other things. And if you don't consider what they're feeling, what they're going through, even if they can't, it's like, I can't put it in words. I can't put a vision all the way on it. This is those moments that if you don't take it serious, you could lose them, and not like cheating, but they just, they might not go to work. They might, they're somewhere else. And then 6 months later, you discovering that they're doing, so you're like, what is this? Like, well, I was telling you that I had these ideas, and, and it that's where, what did it say? We're growing apart. I was like, I'm trying to tell you that my mind is just shifting a little bit. I'm seeing things. I still want us to get to this space, but I can see us either getting there quicker, or I can see another way of us getting there. But this, this is what I think my passion is. Today this happened at work, and I was like, I think I could do this. So it's just, but you just gotta have that conversation. You can't. And I'll admit, like, even if you heard it before, like they got excited about something, just kind of have the conversation. Like, I hear you. Even if you're like, listen, we talked about such and such, and you kind of did it for a while, then you stop. So just let me know if this is what we're gonna do. This we're gonna do. I'm a listener. We're gonna ride it. We're gonna figure it out. But you can't. But like my wife always tells me about when she's feeling a certain way, and I don't feel that certain way. I can't neglect how she feels. I can't act like her feelings don't matter. So that goes with just having a vision, seeing something different. I don't neglect it. Just have the conversation. Like, okay, what would that look like? How can we achieve that in the space we're in now? Like, what can you do? What steps can you start making now? So it's just, we all go through cycles. We all go through changes. Certain things come into our life that we're like, what? That may be my purpose. That may be something I want to do. But we have to allow our spouse to explore and, and discover, they come into new things. They don't want to go through the cycle all the time. And sometimes they're like, you know what? I looked into that. let me go and get back into our goal. We almost there. But just having the conversation, because if those conversations aren't had, someone might feel trapped. And this goes for the person that's having the thoughts also, because they're like, I feel trapped, but you never talk to your spouse. Like, I feel trapped in my, like, did you talk to her? No, I know she gonna say this and this. And you make assumptions. And as me, you make assumptions on what your spouse is gonna say, and you get nowhere. So don't make assumptions. Have the conversations. Right?
Well, I mean, you was on a roll. I was just listening.
Oh, so yeah, just that's very important to, and these are part of the changes. And you don't have to ignore the changes that's happening within you. Don't ignore it. And it's fine to not want something like, man, I used to enjoy this so much. I don't really enjoy it as much anymore. Somewhere between 25 and 40, I don't know. I lost my zeal for roller coasters. I'm like deathly afraid of roller coasters. I can't do it. I think the last time I got on one little one, my son, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm done. I cannot do a roller coaster. It was like, it wasn't even bad. I was just like, yeah, I cannot. But yeah, so you're gonna go through these shifts. You're gonna go through these changes. So the two things is, don't ignore them for yourself. Like if you see an interest, if you see something shifting in you, have the conversation. Don't alienate your spouse from your change.
Right.
Don't alienate your spouse from your change, because that is where trouble really happens. Because now you want to do something, you're frustrated, and she's like, what's wrong with you? And you're going through these shifts and changes, and just tell her, like, listen, I've been looking at something kind of interested. I see what you think, and your spouse, just have the conversation. Now, if you have this idea to sell a house and do something crazy, don't expect your spouse to just jump on board with you. But just have those conversations so that your changes aren't ignored.
I don't know. I feel like you can't, don't try to put people in a box.
Right.
Like
right.
even your spouse, allow them to change.
Right.
And when I say allow, I mean, don't be like, oh, well, when I married you,
Right.
you
Right.
used to,
Right.
when I married you,
right.
you always, when we got married, you said,
Right.
I mean, like to some degree, we do try to hold each other to what our expectations are,
Right.
but you also have to have room and flexibility
Right.
for those things to change.
Right.
You don't want to stifle somebody's growth.
Right.
Even your spouse, you don't want to stifle them and put them in a box and this is who you're supposed to be. The mother of my kids. You raise the
Right.
kids,
That's it.
you take care of the house, and you be my wife.
Right.
And then ladies, the same thing. You don't want to do that to your husband. You're supposed to protect us, go to work, and bring home a paycheck.
Right.
And we get stuck on what it's supposed to look like or
Right.
what we've envisioned in our head. So when something changes, it's like, what?
Right.
And it can be shocking. I'll say even when he decided to step off of his job, it was very shocking. My inside parts were screaming, but probably what came out of my mouth probably shocked him. I know he was expecting
Right.
me to say, what? You supposed to keep? And I was like, and I didn't, because I want him to be able to be happy and complete as a man. I don't want him to be broken and limping in our relationship. He came into this relationship as a complete whole man. I want him to be able to stay intact and, if anything, become better,
Mm-hmm.
not to become less than what he was,
Right.
just so I can say, my husband does this, so my husband this.
Right.
So I think it's important for you to kind of embrace change, and it can be hard,
Right.
but embrace the change in your relationship, embrace the growth. When you see things changing, kind of close ranks, get
Right.
closer, talk more, spend more time with each other, be intentional about that stuff. Like, because change can create distance if you're not careful. Right. You have to be intentional, and you have to be ever watchful of what's happening in your relationship, inside yourself, with your spouse.
Right.
You always have to ask questions. Even if it's like, we're going to do something different tonight. We're going to go back to, some of the questions I asked you when we started dating.
Right.
Just and see how the answers have changed.
Yeah.
You'll be surprised.
Right.
Questions you may have asked him then, where you see yourself in 5 years.
Right.
Okay, well, it's been 20-something years.
Right.
And so now ask the question again.
Right.
Man, where do you see us in 5 years?
Right.
Okay, well, where do you think we should be? Where do you want us to be? It's important sometimes to ask the questions that might seem weird that we have in our head.
Right.
We should ask. There's, communication is always a good thing. You just have to be intentional. You have to be sincere.
Yes.
And you have to be willing to listen.
Definitely. Be willing to listen. Be willing to listen. So my challenge to all my couples, just have the conversation. What more? Is there anything that I can do more?
There you go with that question.
Is there anything? So thank you guys for hanging and rocking with us. We appreciate you. Make sure if you still got an opportunity to share, sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. Tag somebody, as well as join our community. Text LWN to 84576. Text LWN to 84576. Be a part of our community, the Legacy Walker Network, with all of our shows collaborating together. And you won't miss an episode or anything that's going on within our group and everything of that nature. So we appreciate you as always. Anything you want to share? Oh, tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow night,
yes.
8:30 p.m.
Yeah.
The Sisters of Legacy will be on, as we are every Tuesday, 8:30 p.m. tomorrow.
Awesome.
And if you want to know what we're talking about, guess what? You have to watch.
Yes, indeed.
So meet us there tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m.
Yes, and if you join the text community, you get to find out before the broadcast starts, as well as tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Brothers of Legacy as well. All right, as we do Monday through Friday. All right, so we look forward to seeing you guys next week, same time, same channel, and always remember, love intentionally,
love unconditionally,
and live on purpose. Peace out. This episode is brought to you by StreamYard. Ready to go live? Go to bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. That's bit.ly/StreamYard BOL. This episode is also brought to you by Self. Build credit now. Go to bit.ly/now build credit. bit.ly/now